A culture shock that you had when you arrived to Mexico.
Well, the first culture shock is the size of the city. Caracas is very small, but here Mexico is so big, and the traffic jams were huge, and that kind
Worse
of
than Caracas?
Huh?
Worse than Caracas?
Yes, kind of. Well, I think here is like I don't know the word in English. It's like more fluid.
Más fluido.
Sí, más fluido, but in Caracas it's like kind of stuck there.
Yeah, just stuck in one
Yes,
spot for hours.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
Dale.
Cool trip I made was to India, and a cultural shock I found was that people and animals were having food in the same place, and they were eating trash, and everything they ate was with their hands, and it was really shocking for me.
In China, on the restaurant, the food was live before I ate it, and that was gross. That was a shock for me.
A little bit about the culture shock that you've had in the past years.
Yes, I once went to Skopje in Macedonia, and no one spoke English, and I wanted to take a train, but there wasn't any website to buy the tickets, and also there wasn't any timetable, so you just had to go to the train station and wait until the train got full in order to leave the place and go somewhere else, and it was very
It's very inconvenient.
I don't know, I went to a conference and everyone was closing their eyes and you thought that they were sleeping, but they
they're
were
actually
really paying
concentrating.
attention.
Oh,
They
that's
were
really cool.
concentrating, yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you.
One of the culture shocks I have seen is in London, and they close up at 3 o'clock because they only have lunch at 12 and dinner at 6, and here in Mexico we are used to eat like at 3 o'clock, but they don't, so that is very...
So they have like
interesting
a
for us.
break between, like at 3 they have a break before they have dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you tell me a culture shock that you've experienced?
Food in Paris, probably.
In Paris?
Yeah.
Well, what about it? It was different. It was very good.
Not spicy. I mean,
China, they were like really aggressive, even more than Mexicans when driving.
I went to the United States, the shock that
The security, the security in the United States.
the public security.
What do you think about cultural shock?
I think it is very important to understand how people in other parts of the world think, because when we think about doing business, we need to understand how they are going to react in regards of anything. Things that could be like very simple for us or like very obvious are completely different for them. So I think it's very, very important.
When I went to India, even without traffic, they're always like taking the horn without having someone in front of them. I mean, it's annoying. Yeah.
Well, a culture shock I've experienced could be the traffic, since when I went to the US, I mean, the traffic was also a problem there, but the food as well, and what else? And also the people, like the culture is different.
In what way? They're very American.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different.
Well, thank you so much.
When I went to Cuba, I realized that people were following me just because they wanted to steal my things.
Hi, can you tell me a culture shock that you've experienced?
Sure. 3 years ago, I was living in New York, and for the first time, I received this list of supplies for the school, and one of those items was Snickers for physical education. So I was like, okay, chocolate for physical education. Okay, that sounds great. Maybe I'll do a lot of sports and I'll be very tired, so I needed some energy. I don't know. So I bought this box of candies, of Snickers to school, and everyone stared at me like, what are you doing with those Snickers at physical physical education class. And I was like, okay, in the list it said that I had to bring some Snickers, so I bought this box, you know, if someone needed some.
And it was sneakers, no?
And there was Snickers, so I was like, yeah, tennis shoes, you know? And they were like, what? Oh, Snickers, you silly.
That's really funny. Well, thank you so much. So can you explain to me a culture shock that you've experienced?
That in Prague, all the girls are extremely beautiful.
In France, they eat snail.
2 years ago, I went to Europe, and I think the shock I had was the day about the food.
Escargot, it does.
Yes. No, not in France. I think in Germany there's a lot of Turkey people, and they mix the food and the flavors, and that was.
It was really strong flavors, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Hi, can you tell me a culture shock that you've experienced in the past?
Well, I went to Greece and the food is very strange because they have like a food like, I don't know, it's like a taco, but it's very
A few years ago, I went to China, and when I first arrived, they took us on a guide tour to a restaurant. And food was extremely different, and they started bringing things like dog and I don't know, snakes, and they were prepared with sauces and stuff, but we all left and went to a McDonald's.
It's amazing how kids can start drinking at 16 in Italy. Boom.
Yes, of course.
Do you need me to say my name?
No.
What do you want me to say? Are you going to ask me the question I just
Just what do you think about cultural shock or one experience? Or
Okay. So when I first moved to Spain, which was in 2003, I came from Britain, which is a very punctual place where people arrive on time. Arriving to Spain, the hours and the times that people turned up was a real culture shock for me. And British people always turn up 10 minutes early, and Spanish people always turned up about half an hour late. And Mexicans were even later.
Yes.
So sometimes I ended up waiting an hour.
Okay, thank you very much, Ella.
So hi, Vero. Can you tell me a cultural shock that you've experienced in the past?
Well, when I first came to Mexico, I realized that everyone is sorry for something. Like, if you tell a joke, people are always like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to tell that you were ugly, or not ugly, but like...
They take things
in
seriously.
where I'm from, we like joke around a lot, and I'm not used to say that much sorry as they do it here. So that was like kind of strange for me
to adapt.
And like I feel I have to monitor everything I say because then they will take it the wrong way. But people are very nice and educated, I guess.
Thank you, Erdo.
I was impressed how people in Switzerland would follow the rules strictly.
Last year I went to New York and I found out that in St. Patrick's Day they were very drunk, like at 2 a.m. and I was impressed because there were many young people. So
I was amazed to see how in Turkey they call people to the temples when they're going to a ceremony.
When I lived in Moscow, the thing that impressed me the most was the way that men treat women.
Well, when I went to Chiapas, Selva La Candona, actually they eat things like chango and some kind of insects, so it was like, ugh.
I lived in Canada. I was surprised by how different cultures live together. So this whole thing about multiculturalism, and I think that is very different than how life is in Mexico.
In Greece, I found a lot of porn. It's you with this one. 3.
In Turkey, women have to wear burqas. Hairy cows in Belgium.
Hindus throw the ashes of cremated people into the Ganges.
China, I went to the insect market and there you go eat any type of insect from flies to, I don't know, serpents, anything.
Okay. And you tried one?
Yes.
You tried a beetle, right? That's what it's called. Well, that's really weird.
Actually, it was kind of spicy. It was really good.
So thank you.
Went to Israel and the meat was kosher, so I don't like kosher, so it was kind of weird.
Poverty in El Salvador.
Well, one time when I went to Paris, I went to go to the bathroom, and I found out that it was for a woman and for men it was a communal restroom, and it was like kind
That was
of
really
awkward.
weird. Okay, thank you.
They were like really aggressive, even more than Mexicans when driving.
When I went to Canada, I had a cultural shock because, well, actually it was good because it was all different and I really agreed with everything they did. It was really organized and I liked it. Yeah, there was something that I found interesting, that it was more common for a teenager to smoke weed than to smoke cigars or to get drunk. And it wasn't seen as bad as in Mexico.
One of my cultural shocks was when I arrived to Mexico City, there were a lot of gay couples and I'm not used to it.
I went to India and I saw that they live with common bathrooms.
My cultural shock was when I was living in Ireland and I, being Mexican, had some difficulties adapting to its culture, being the food, some religion issues and all that kind of stuff.